Eyewitness News. In touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, log on to ewn.co.za or ewn.mobi.
If you see something, say something. SMS your anonymous tip-off to Crime Line on 32211.
You're listening to Jenny Crwys Williams on Talk Radio 702, your number one news and talk station.
Well, my conversation with Dr. Helen Fisher is going to be sound-clouded on the 702 Twitter account at Radio 702, and the conversation that I had with her is also going to be a best of JCW podcast. So lots of you are asking if we can podcast it, so we are. So you look under the best of JCW, but you can also check out SoundCloud on the 702 Twitter account at Radio 702, and do join me for a drink right now, because we are going to be talking about 3 artisanal beers. That's the latest word, artisanal. So it's artisanal everything, and I guess beer is absolutely no exception. So coming up in just a moment, we're going to be speaking to 3 locally produced craft beers, and 2 are local, and i.e. one is made in the Maboneng precinct, one is made in Soweto, and the other one is made in the Karoo, just outside Loxton. So we're going to be speaking to the people involved. We're going to be speaking to the people who've been making the beers for you and me to taste. And I hope you're going to find this really interesting, because there is absolutely no question in my mind that people are wanting to taste local beers. They're wanting to taste beers that come from different parts of the country, probably not produced in huge quantities, and full of the different tastes. I can't go through Nottingham Road without stopping and buying the Nottingham Road beer. One, I love what they call them, Tiddly Toad, ale, or whatever it happens to be. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and it's so filled with flavour. It kind of stays in your mouth for ages and ages. So what I've done is I've invited 3 people into the studio who are involved in this wonderful new launch, I suppose, across South Africa of artisanal beer. And it's a need to just, I think you want quality beer, I think you want different beers, and whether it's a beer or an ale or whatever it is, it really is very exciting. So we are starting off with the Smack Republic Brewing Company, but not before I've introduced the 3 guys in the studio. So there's Andrew Martin, who is the owner and brewer of the Smack Republic Brewing Company, and it's right in downtown Johannesburg. So we'll tell you where you can go along. And then Loxton Lager, of course, that's where Dion Meyer lives. So I've got all sorts of questions there. That's Stuart Thompson. So Stuart, welcome.
Thank you, Jean.
And if you want Soweto, well, after 9 years as master brewer at SAB Miller, and Demisa Mdladla left the cushy salary behind to start the first ever majority black-owned microbrewery in Soweto. So we're going to be celebrating Mad Mead Brewing Company and talking about the beers that they are doing. So, guys, welcome, and thank you very much. I'm sorry I'm a little bit short, and I am hidden behind screens, but we can see each other's eyes.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
It's a bit like a hippopotamus, when you just see their eyes above the water, or maybe that is a crocodile. I don't know, but anyway, let's start with the Smack Republic Brewing Company. So you're in the Maboneng precinct, aren't you?
Excuse me, yeah, that's right. In the last few years, it's been really exciting and really positive what's going on in downtown Jozi. And we launched in March of this year.
Okay.
And, we've always been passionate about the city. And as home brewers, we always kind of had it in the back of our minds that, one day we would like to do something to really drive craft beer, particularly in the inner city, and actually bring people back to the inner city. So we got involved in the Maboneng precinct. We had a building there called Arts on Main.
Yes.
It's near sort of Jeppes Town, that side of town. And we've moved into Arts on Main. It's a 100-year-old building. So we very.
Are you in the large building? Just because there's huge empty spaces.
Well, Arts on Main is a multi-dimensional space. There's art galleries, there's bookshops, there's coffee shops, and we are on the ground floor. So we've occupied a unit within that building.
So can people come and see you? Can they see you through glass or something?
Yeah. Well, how are we doing it? Because we're just a quaint brewery for now. Launched about 7 months ago. So we open every Sunday to coincide. There is a market that happens at Arts on Main,
Yes.
a food and beverage and furniture and all sorts of things. A market there. So we just open our doors to coincide with that for now. We do events in the week, such as beer and food pairing evenings, as well as group bookings and nights where we get home brewers in and things like that. So we are open sort of here and there during the week. We will be expanding our hours towards the end of the year. So just keep an eye out. Have a look at the website, our social media, and we'll let everybody know when we expand our hours. It should be happening pretty soon.
And Mamaning obviously works for you. It's an exciting part of town, and it's spreading. I mean, it really is. For me, that's the exciting part.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've always been sort of passionate, and what better way really to drive the growth and drive the positivity. There's such a vibe there that I just can't describe it. When you go in there, but even particularly on a Sunday or any day really, everybody there is just trying to do something positive, make a positive change. I just encourage, everybody out there who's curious and haven't been, into the inner city in many moons. I'd say, hey, come down to the brewery, have a few craft beers with us. We'd really love to see you there.
All right. Well, look, I mean, this is just an informal conversation, but I have to say that we've got 2 urban beers being produced. You can't get more urban than Soweto. But Loxton is another matter altogether. And so as you're coming down to Cape Town, you've got Beaufort West on your left-hand side, and on the right-hand side there's the turn off to Loxton. And there is beautiful country, and there's Dion Mayer. And there is also the Loxton, well, I've got Loxton Lager here, but it really is, it's the Loxton Lager Company, isn't it?
Yeah,
do you call it the Loxton Lager Company?
The company technically is called Human Brew, but it's a much simpler story. We only have one product, which is Loxton Lager. If we can get that right, we can consider some others. And we don't brew it in Loxton, so let me not mislead you or anyone else.
What is the Loxton? If you've got a bed there or something?
Loxton, the link with Loxton is that's really the center of gravity of the 3 very specific ingredients. So we've got a herbal ingredient called buchu, which we get from the Western Cape Mountains. In fact, the farm's called Skimmelberg near Clanwilliam, if you want to be very specific. We use a honey adjunct, which we get from the Southern Cape, typically from the Baviaanskloof or the Langkloof. But bees are a little bit capricious, so you have to take what you can get. But that's the best source we found for it. And then the third ingredient is another Karoo herb, which we get from the northern Karoo around Britstown in the sort of Ongas River Valley. So if you look at that triangle from Clanwilliam to there, Loxton's about in the middle. And I happen to be a great Karoo lover. I had my 50th birthday in Craddock. I've done a lot of trips and hikes and walks and botanizing and fossilizing in the Karoo. And I just think the Karoo's got so much to offer, apart from just fracking and hurrying to plet.
That's on your doorstep.
So I think it's a fantastic thing to do, just to shout it out, and I suppose a little bit like Dion Mayer, who's got a place there, but actually does most of his writing in the Cape and most of his book selling abroad. He has a strong affinity to Loxton, obviously. And I think it's a great story to promote. So
you don't do any of this assembling even in Loxton. It's simply that's where you are.
It's just the centre of gravity of the 3 herbs, and it is available as from tomorrow morning at what Dion would describe in his English versions as the red pomegranate. The Rooigranaat Tea House in Loxton is now a stockist of Loxton Lager.
Okay, all right. Well, and that's almost a romantic launch of it. A description of it. It sounds fantastic, and of course the Mad Mead. Talking about honey, well, mead, of course, is I think it's a repellent drink, but it was a very medieval drink. So I've got to just ask Ndumiso, why Macmead? I mean, what's behind that title?
Okay, Mad Mead is actually a very unique name. We actually combine last names of myself, Madlala, so the MAD part, the prefix, and then the suffix of my business partner, who's a Swedish guy, and his last name is Schmidt. So Mad Mead is actually a collaboration between myself and him.
So it's got nothing to do with honey or the Scots?
No, it has nothing.
Nothing?
No,
okay, because I was thinking, well, this is Soweto. I mean, why isn't it called something Soweto-ish or something like that? But you've decided to launch it and to site it in Soweto. So yes. Whereabouts in Soweto actually are you?
Okay, what we did, we actually went around and looked for a site where we can start brewing. whilst we wait for our brewery. Our brewery would be up and running in Soweto in March. At the moment, the beer is produced at Notice. I was very happy to hear that you love Notice beers.
Oh, at Notice?
Yes, it's produced at Notice at the moment. And then in March, when we get our brewery in Soweto, we'll start producing in Soweto. We'll be based in Orlando West, very close to Vilakazi Street.
Oh, God.
On a very, very beautiful site. We actually did quite a lot of research about Soweto, and Orlando was for us a very significant place historically, because that's where James Sofasonke Mpanza actually expanded the location of Soweto to what it is today.
So if I look at Vilakazi Street and I've got Sukumzi's on my left and the Mandela House up there on my right, whereabouts are you?
We're very close. At the moment, we're not really at the liberty of disclosing the site because of...
It's Winnie's garden, isn't it?
Very close to actually. It's very close to Winnie's house.
You see. Is she a shareholder?
No, she's not.
Oh, well, she will be. She'll be on the phone to you in no time
it's
at all.
It's very close to Winnie's house. It's a great location. I mean, the venue is already hosting weddings and conferences, and we plan to have brewery tours. I mean, Soweto, you've got quite a lot of stock fairs. You've got quite a lot of societies. We want, at the end of the day, I always say, the big boys, SAPN Brand House, and us as microbrewers, we all want the same thing, and that is to grow the beer industry in South Africa.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's any difficulty with that, because we're great beer drinkers. I mean, we really are. But of the three of you, yours seems to be the most corporate. I mean, you've got hectic background in beer brewing and the beer industry and whatever. So you know the industry inside and outside. But how many partners have you got? Is it quite a big group of you, or is it relatively small?
In fact, when we started this whole venture, we started as a very big group, and then somewhere along the way, I realized that it doesn't work out. So myself and my business partner, who's from Europe, and I always take my hat off to him, because he comes from a place that really understands craft brewing. He will always say, it's very fun in South Africa that you go to every township and none has its own beer. So we decided to step aside and really work on this, the two of us. And that really helped us, because in the past 6 months, we've really progressed quite a lot.
Okay, so presumably, two of you, will welcome tourists to come in and have a look, and once you're up and running and growing, because that's really what you're involved. Maybe not so much tourists as just people who are resident in Joburg, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is quite fascinating what's going on there, and I really would encourage, anybody to come in and check it out. At our brewery per se, there's, 2 levels to it. So the downstairs, that's the real engine room, and we like to give a real sort of interactive experience with the members of the public. Often we actually open the brewery on Sunday and we actually do live brews, so people can actually come in and see how the beer is made. And we make it right there on the spot for them. Then, of course, upstairs, we kind of, being an artisanal or artisan brewery, we bring together the world of craft beer and art, in a sense. And upstairs, we like to promote, new up-and-coming young artists. So, people can come in, grab a beer downstairs and have a little browse upstairs. And most definitely, to answer your question, we'd love people to come through.
All right. So where does Loxton Lager then fit in with this? Because you're supplying, but you don't have a home as yet. But are you going to have a home, do you think?
Well, a home production is we're men. We would dearly love to own our own hardware. But the realistic problem is scale, is what capacity do you put in?
Yes.
So having started like a garagist, in a couple of buckets in the garage,
yes.
If it then works, then you straight away have a problem. I've been fortunate enough to secure the contract services of Copper Lake Brewing. So Brendan at Copper Lake does my production brewing, and then we're not in the tourism business as such. So we're very much aligned to food. The first guy to stock our beer was Steve Maresh at the local grill. I don't know if you know that's in Park Tunnel.
It's very close to me.
Steve was very encouraging and engaging early on.
Right.
So it started there, and trust me, with those little Karoo herbs in it, Loxton goes really well with a meal.
Yes.
And he's finding that. La Cucina di Ciro, I don't know if you know that.
That's very close to me.
Also close by the foundry. So it's kind of radiated a little bit out from that. It has got as far as the Griffin. It's got as far as the Stanley Bar.
Okay.
And it's at a few bottle stores. Linden Liquor, Norman Goodfellows, and Solly Kramer's Parkview. And then obviously it's in Cape Town as well, Ruland Liquors, and it's available online through the League of Beers. So you can order it right here at 5 Gwen Lane, and they'll bring it to you in a box.
All right. Well, all sorts of... I would love to have some thoughts on you guys on if you are drinking beers that are artisanal beers, craft beers is another word for it. If you've got any favorites. About 3 months ago, I reviewed the most wonderful book on craft beer, and I still think that it's... they'll obviously update it over the years, but I thought it was an absolutely fantastic book, and I think that they are onto such a good thing. They obviously looked around, they saw what was happening in the beer market, and they went to town. So from small beginnings, of course, you grow bigger, but I hope not too big, because I think there's something quite special about a craft beer on any level. I don't think you want it to get somehow, to cover the world. You don't want it to be a Heineken. At least I don't think you do.
I don't think that's in any way feasible within the next 2 decades. Let's be realistic. I mean, if you look at, there are 2 poster boys worldwide for craft beer. The one is Sam Calagione of Dogfish Head, and he's stayed the offbeat way. So he's very much doing creative things, using coloured algae to achieve coloured beers. His latest high-profile thing was a beer with moon dust in it. And one assumes that at some stage he will bring out a beer with bull dust in it, because there's a lot of that sort of fun. But it's got genuine moon dust with one of his industrial colleagues who had access to one of the bringbacks. And then the other poster boy is fascinating, is the Samuel Adams story. Boston Beer Company in the States started very much selling by hand, introducing his beer across the thing. That company is now listed in America, and I think the total market cap of the company is about $5 billion. So he's now worth $1 billion. But that's 20 years of sustained, lucky, hard work.
Yes.
It's very new, very early days. I think also we need to remember that we are ahead and behind the curve in some ways. My son's at university in Hamburg at the moment. There's some chaps in Hamburg who've got craft beer going there because of ideas they picked up in the Cape. So it's spreading there. But Germany, the whole market there is really a craft beer market. It's every town typically has its own. The brewer sponsors the soccer team, and he's the big dog in town. So it works like that. If you look at the explosion in microbreweries in America, they've got now about 2,600. And it's very much coincided with the sort of fragmentation of the mass media. The old days when the big newspapers dominated the media, that's fragmented. It's much more internet-y and little and all over the place. If you look at that sort of analysis, South Africa possibly has potential for 150 or 200 little breweries. And I think if we can all find a way to make it work on a small scale, let's worry about the other stuff much later on. We're a long way away from trying to carpet bomb the country with beer.
Well, and I mean, so you've got the significant beer background. Yes. I reckon we must be producing at least 50 artisanal beers in South Africa, if not a few more.
Yeah, no. In fact, I've done quite an extensive research on that. At the moment, we're producing close to 70 artisanal beers in South Africa. Okay. But there's still space for more. There's still space for more. If you look at MedMead, what we're planning, at the moment we'll launch our company with just a lager. And then we want to introduce...
That's what you gave me to try.
That's what I gave you to try. Right. And then we'll introduce other styles of brewing. I still think in a township environment, there is quite a lot of space to introduce a vice beer, which I think will really blend in quite nicely with the female populace.
Well, one of the questions I wanted to ask you is females drinking beer. So maybe we can just start off talking about that. And I'm going to be chatting to Stuart and in fact to Andrew. I beg your pardon, Stuart. So Andrew, women drinking beer. I drink beer when I go on long walks and things like that. I don't go and have a wine at the end of the day or in the middle of the day. I have a beer, and I really, really enjoy it. But I wouldn't describe myself as a regular beer drinker as such. Women and beers. Do you think that they need their special beers like a vice beer?
Well, first of all, good on you, Jenny. That's good to hear. You know, flying the flag there, that's fantastic. Yeah, well, we at our, you know, in our experience, which is pretty recent, only in the last sort of 2 to 3 years, we have noticed there's been a big drive for females. You know, and they are really actually, starting to really get into the beer, which traditionally, you know, maybe has clearly not been the case. Essentially what it comes down to, I think the allure of craft beer, you know, the beers that the microbrewers produce, because our markets are really so small, you know, we can let our imaginations really fly, and we, you know, include ingredients like nachi peels or black pepper or, you know, honey and rooibos and all of these kind of flavors, which, you know, in traditional beer you wouldn't find them. So ladies, we found have loved all these new flavors, and it isn't beer as you know many people know beer. You know, we always tell people that come in, the first step really is to forget everything you think you know about beer, and you know we want to just show people all the different styles, the flavors, and the ladies are actually really enjoying it.
All right, well, we'll talk a little bit more about that after the news. It is coming up for 3:30 Eyewitness News headlines. Taramini. All right, so we're talking beer, but we're talking artisanal beer. We're talking about craft beer. We're talking about, very interesting, at the moment, something like 70 beers, craft beers are being produced in South Africa. And the guys reckon that we could accommodate quite comfortably something like 200, given the size of South Africa and the population and everything. So if you want to give us a call, please do. The number to dial is 883-0702. And there is definitely a huge change in beer drinking in South Africa. Some of your SMSs, my husband and I do house sitting, and we were left at least 24 Copperfield dark lager and ale beers to drink. We enjoyed it as shandy, and the dark ale with Ribena, we had to drink them as they had no preservatives. That was came from Colleen. Yeah, you can't keep them forever, Colleen, I know. And then Joanne, what about the girls brewing? We have an all-girl brewery in Modderfontein, Oaks Brew House, and we are bringing the first black lady brewer and owner, and that comes from Joanne. Well, let us know about it, Joanne. It sounds fantastic. And then this comes from Pali, and Demisa, I want you to deal with this one. Please ask your guest, how would they get someone like me that finds beer so bitter to start to enjoy it? Is there a less bitter beer to start with? Well, we don't know what she's drinking in the first place, but I think you can get beers that are actually sweet.
Yes, that was exactly our approach as well. We actually went and studied the Soweto palate, you know, and if you look at typical Sowetans, they enjoy beer that is less bitter and slightly sweet, and that actually inspired our recipe of Soweto Gold. So we've actually created a recipe that is very drinkable, really light in bitterness, and it leaves a very nice sweet aftertaste due to the specialty malt that we use. But also to attract the females into drinking beer, we've prepared a limited edition Soweto Cherry Gold, which will be launching also during the Soweto Beer Festival. And proceeds of that, by the way, will be donated to the Breast Cancer Association.
Okay, thank you.
What I actually tried to do with the beer is I didn't want it to be cidery, you know, so it hasn't departed from a beer flavor, but it has very nice cherry flavors in it.
Well, I mean, some of the Czechoslovakian beers and there are cherries. I mean, you can taste the cherries. Some of the Belgian beers.
Yes, I had actually the tastiest cherry beer in Leuven in Belgium. A very nice beer called Kriek, yes. And it's absolutely fantastic.
Yes, and I mean, Jeremy Mansfield used to come to me occasionally for dinner. He would bring his own beer. He would drink beer throughout, but it was different beer. And he always ended off, it seems to me, with a cherry beer, because it goes with pud really quite well. So I mean, the whole thing I think is really, really interesting. So, Pali, the answer to you is you're going to have to buy Soweto Gold, and it's not on sale just yet, but the Soweto Beer Festival is
on Friday the 25th, and it runs all the way to Monday the 28th. So it's a 4-day event.
Okay, and whereabouts is that? Is it all over? No, it can't be all over.
No, it can't be all over. It's in Mufulo in Soweto. It's one of the neighborhoods in Soweto, and it's in a venue called Shep Stadium.
Okay, so there you go, Polly. Go along and try the beer and see what you think of it. And it'll be nicely chilled, and I'm sure that you're going to enjoy it. I'm going to ask you all to put your headphones on, please. So let's go to, now have I got your name correct? Kuan?
Kuan, yes.
Kuan, hi there, Kuan.
Hi, Jenny.
Yeah. Yes, you phoned me.
Can I go? Okay.
Yeah, you
this
can.
is just a question for your guest. Jenny, I'm opening up a restaurant in the Waterfall Country State of Kailani. It's a community-based restaurant, and I've been involved in the industry for about 15 years now. I'd like to sort of steer away from the traditional SAB type of offerings. Is there a directory of microbreweries that I can go and research on to go and select, obviously, a couple of options for my establishment?
Okay, Stuart?
Yes, there very much is. My suggestion to you would be to get on your phone and download the My Beer Craft app, My Beer Craft,
Right,
and you'll find an extraordinary list. You'll also find some of your restaurant colleagues in there, but you're going to find pretty much most of the brewers are listed there, and you can find what beers they offer, and you can find information on their availability. Obviously, as an app, it's live. It may not be, up to the latest 5 seconds correct, but work on that and interact with that, and you'll find an exquisite amount of information there. And it's being updated all the time. Yeah, My Beer Craft app.
Thank you for that. I do appreciate it.
Don't you think he would quite like the book?
Yeah, and certainly get hold of the book. Apparently, I spoke to Lucy last week. It's almost sold out in Cape Town, but they've still got copies at Exclusives in Rosebank. So go and buy yourself a copy of African Brew. It's a very, very well-made book, and Lucy's the author, who's really, really good. And the photography is by Rainer Reinicke, a very, very good high-end food and styling photographer. So
go and grab that.
Worth getting.
Yeah, and they've got lovely recipes in it. So the recipes are sort of tailored to the beers.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Okay, Cohen, thank you. We look forward to eating that. Toby, hi there.
I'm back. I know.
Now, what is your problem?
My problem is nothing. I'm just driving around listening to the Jenny Crwys Williams show, and I personally am thrilled that we live in the age of craft beer, because long may it rain, and the fact that it's such good quality beer and that you can drink it just about anyone. I'm a big Weiss beer fan, so I try and find it wherever I can, and all of a sudden you can get, Weiss beer in just about any restaurant or bar in Joburg or South Africa. Long may it rain.
Yes. Yeah, and it's also slightly lighter than some of the other beers as well.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is that while we consider this kind of quality of beer to be something that only a craft or artisanal or small brewery can do, actually, if you look at the whole of Belgium, they are the best beer makers in the world, and the quality of mass-produced beer still is really, really good.
And also, I'm intrigued by their wild yeast beers as well, which I'm sure we're doing that somewhere in South Africa.
Wild yeast, I don't know, but I know there's no one there from the Darling Brewery.
I'll teach you.
Okay. Well, they do a really good Weiss beer, this Bone Crusher. I mean, it's got, you kind of read the labels of bottles and they tell you what's in it, but I really can taste the coriander in Bone Crusher. It's a very good beer. And I can't remember who said they had their stuff for churros, because I'm going there for dinner tonight.
It's
so I'm
Loxton.
going to drink it there.
Yeah, it's the Loxton.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so look out for that. Okay. All right, Dal, thanks so much.
Love your work, Jen.
Thanks, Dal. That's Toby. And let's go to Yvonne. Hi there, Yvonne.
Hi, Jenny. My question relates to the World of Beer. I think it is going on in Soweto this weekend. I just wanted to know, is there a stall there where one can go and have the whole experience of craft beer?
Well, you're talking about Ndemiso's beer, the Mad Mead Brewing Company.
Yes.
Okay, so Ndemiso?
What we found in the festival in the past few years was there was never any craft beer. Actually, this is going to be the first year where we are introducing craft. So besides Soweto Gold, which will be making its maiden appearance in Soweto, there will be quite a few other craft brewers who will be available in Soweto. So you're very welcome to come to our stand. We'll have a very big craft brewing stand in Soweto in Sharp Stadium.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, Yvonne, thanks very much indeed. So, are either of you, is Loxton going to be in Soweto? Are you going to be in Soweto?
Unfortunately, Loxton won't be. Personally, I will be away this weekend in Mpumalanga doing some botanical and field research. The availability of my stock's rather low, but I have got another 1,200 litres in a bright beer tank, which is going to be bottled probably over the next weekend.
Okay.
So I'll hopefully be able to come back swinging soon after Ndomiso's cleaned up in Soweto.
Okay, and Andrew, are you going to be at Soweto?
It's pretty much the same story with us. You know,
Yes.
we're a quaint little brewery, and
Yes.
we really sort of bring our backsides off just to keep up with the demand, you know, and it's just a question of, unfortunately, stock-wise, we didn't have for this particular time.
So how much do you produce? I mean, how much do you produce on a monthly basis?
Well,
for
you know,
instance?
right now there's various ways you can go about it. You know, some of the craft guys, they buy big systems up front. You know, we just took the sort of slow and steady wins the race approach, in the sense that we've got a quaint little brewery, and right now we're producing in the region of about 3,000 to 4,000 litres a month.
Sounds like a lot.
It is a lot, but there's such an insatiable need and for the craft beer out there in the public, and we actually, you know, like I'm sure the other gentleman here today, we actually just can't make enough to satisfy demand. So,
but that's the way to keep it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
it really is a fascinating time for beer in South Africa. You know, it really is. It's exciting, and good times ahead, let's hope.
Let's go to Liana. Hello, Liana.
Hi, Jenny. Sorry, we stumbled one year, I think it was last year at the Rand show, and there were some microbreweries there, and we stumbled onto a brewery called Three Skulls. Three Skulls Brewery, and apparently he's out in Marlborough or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But can I tell you, his beers are totally delightful. I don't like beer, but he makes a beer called Grave Digger. You have absolutely no idea. So we follow him from market to market. Wherever he goes, we go and buy.
Okay.
So I don't even think he bottles it, you know, so you have to buy from markets, but it is just absolutely wonderful. So something different.
Most definitely. I mean, we the sort of craft beer fraternity, if you want to put it that way, we all kind of know each other, and we know Jonathan very well. So if you enjoy his beers, just keep an eye out. You know, there are so many craft beer festivals happening. A couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, there'd be one or two fests, if that, you know. But in the last sort of year, 18 months now, there are just plenty of festivals. And Jonathan is actually a regular on the craft beer festival scene. So, if you do like his beer, then come on down.
Okay, Liana, thanks so much. Let's go to Arnold. Hi there, Arnold.
Hi, Jenny. Hi to the guys there. I'm so glad this is actually happening. With the brews. I always like to have brews at different places. I try and find brew houses in different areas that we travel to. But one good one in Joburg is Kilroy's, and in April they host a festival for home brewers where the guys can actually take their own brew and you can go and taste various brews at their premises. And that is also very nice.
And I think that's also adding to kind of the interest that there is around in terms of artisanal beers, Arnold.
Most definitely.
Yeah, no, nice. And he's a very good self-publicist as well. So you know, he's got a good thing going.
No, he definitely does.
Arnold, thanks very much. Remember, the lines are open, 883-0702. Let's find out what's happening in the traffic. Been a hard day for 702 landers.